All right. So we are going early. It's about 5 minutes until. So I am early. And Monday, lots to talk about, possibly, depending. So just to get this out of the way quick, some douchebag, California school teacher, tried to whack the president again. And then a bunch of other idiots got on social media and started like talking about how they wish he had succeeded. And I don't know. Sometimes I feel like it's like I have a feeling that if someone were to succeed in taking out our current president, whatever they think is going to happen is not going to happen, right? It's like these idiots have got it into their brain that if they can only assassinate the evil orange man, then all of their dreams will come true. And I think what would actually happen is, a lot of these people would be rounded up and shot, you know. So, so I'm like, it's like when you see these people begging for civil war, and it's like, but do you really want one? I mean, you know, like it's going to be bad for everybody. I mean, I'm not going to be able to talk about Hyperborea so much. I mean, so yeah, it just doesn't seem like a good thing to do, but there's. And why is it always school teachers? You know, that's something that's kind of tweaks me about it because it's like when I was in school, almost all of the teachers were like very old ladies, and there was no politics. I mean, the closest thing we ever had to politics, I think my brother would agree, is we had a teacher that was convinced the Smurfs were satanic.
Yep.
But I mean, there was none of this other stuff, right?
Yeah, and she just agreed that because she's crazy.
Well, I mean, she's a good teacher, though.
She was a great teacher. Crazy people can be teachers. Just nowadays, that's all you get.
Yeah, she's a little bit wild. She's like 90
She was a
and
teacher for
convinced
our
that the
mothers.
Smurfs were absolutely evil, like irredeemably, satanically evil.
Satanic
So,
and commies.
you're very quiet, Hungar. Are you standing across the room from your phone?
A little bit, yeah. How's this?
Way better. Um, okay, so anywho, now that I got that out of my system, like somebody needs to go onto TikTok though and make some TikToks being like, hey, when you guys succeed in taking out the president, it's going to be game on. You're not going to like it. They wouldn't believe it because they're idiots, you know. It's like you got people who, on the one hand, they're like, damn it, I wish they'd hit him and killed him. And then the very same person later says, oh, it was fake though. And it's like, so which is it? Was it fake or do you wish they'd succeeded? I mean, I'm unclear exactly like where we're standing in all this, you know. They're annoying, I think. But yeah, another school teacher, another freaking soy boy from California. I'll tell you what. So, Hungary, you managed to get everyone slung halfway across the continent and almost, saw a duel to the death. How are you feeling about life?
Man, we weren't slung that far, and hardly anybody got that hurt.
I don't know. It was looking pretty scary when you were fighting all the Draugr.
It was looking scary for everybody but me and the other Hyperboreans, so I'm not concerned. And I would like to say one thing about what you're talking about beforehand.
Go ahead.
Okay, it was all staged with the president, but when Omar gets sprayed with apple cider vinegar, it's an assassination attempt. Isn't that a little funny?
Yeah.
That's just me.
My favorite is when these idiots try to justify stuff by being like, well, there's just as much right wing violence. And it's like, really? Where? And they're like, well, remember that guy that attacked Nancy Pelosi's husband? And it's like, oh, you mean the gay prostitute
Yeah, he's
that
a
was in
right
his
wing
house in his
extremist.
underwear? That guy? I
Yeah,
don't, I'm not sure that that's the guy you should count.
yeah. Dang, Jimmy, moving 2 couches better than moving 3 couches.
Oh, I don't have chat on. I should have it on. Had to move 2 couches a day. Oh my God. I feel so bad for you. I mean, were these couches made out of concrete or something, or are you just complaining?
He's just complaining.
It's like,
What's funny is also besides we're gonna be a little political. Besides all that stuff happening, they just discovered that one congressman just discovered that the people who've been like supporting the Klan was like hardcore Democrat
oh,
constituents.
that's the SPLC. And the problem is, if you make all of your money by saying you're going to fight against racism, there has to be racism.
Yeah, so they have to support racism to make money.
So, in order for them to get the big checks they're getting from all their donors, they had to make sure that people actually believed there was still racism just roaming
Or
around the
or
streets.
the Asian Navy guy, they called a white supremacist. He's like, well, if you give me a Klan hood, make sure the eye slits are cut sideways so I can see better. It's like, holy shit, this guy just went off the rails.
Dude, I saw the funniest shit ever. And it was this white lady who I guess is married to an Asian man, East Asian, right?
Yeah.
And it's like when you put your hands over your spouse's eyes, and like it showed him come up and put his hands over her eyes like that, and then he's sitting down later, and you see her come up, and she does like that.
I've
it's just
seen
like
that.
it's just like wow, that is
Yeah, but that dude's like he's like high up in the Navy and shit. They keep calling him a white supremacist. He's like, well, make sure my eye holes are slits instead of circles so I can see better. And he said that shit on the news.
well,
And I'm
you know
like,
what? That's how you handle it. Actually,
yeah,
that is
that's
how you handle it. If
that's
somebody
how
says
you handle
something,
racism.
you just be like whatever and make fun of them or something. I mean, yeah. I mean, it's a new world we live in where like you have to kind of think about it like this though, right? There was a time when everybody was upset about racism, and we have fixed racism to the point that you can be literally any race and still be a white supremacist.
Yeah. What up,
Now, if
James
that's
L?
not inclusivity, I don't know what is. We're doing great, actually. Because there was a time where if you weren't like basically a blonde haired, blue eyed guy, you couldn't be a white supremacist.
What's crazy is I've got like in my
What's
friends,
up, James O? How you doing, brother?
I've
Was
got
invented in the 1920s by Arthur Racist.
I've got a lot of different ethnicities in my friend group, especially with Comcast.
You got a lot of different ethnicities in your family group.
Yeah,
Your
so
immediate family.
we're all on a group chat on Instagram, right? And you know what we do all day? We send each other racist memes.
Yeah, I know. I'm like,
And my friend Cal is like he's from Guatemala, proud Guatemalan, and he's the worst one.
well, look, we were just laughing about James L. I don't know if you heard about it because Australia's got its own problems without having to worry about everything we got going on over here that's stupid. But they're investigating the Southern Poverty Law Center, whose entire mission is to stop white supremacy, for financing like a bunch of white supremacist organizations. But I mean, to me, it makes perfect business sense, though, like I was saying, because
What's up,
if
my bigger? We
if
hate
if,
these biggers.
if we ran out of racism, then they would be out of a job. Literally, they
We're,
wouldn't.
we were also talking about how the Asian dude who's high up in the American Navy has been blasted for being a white supremacist. And on the news, he said, "Well, when you give me my hood, make sure you make the
You
ice
make sure you make the ice.
it's
Yeah, it's
slit
like
instead of
racism is
circles."
such a problem in America that we have to actually crowdfund it. So that one group, American Front, the guys that all wore the black shirts and the khakis and just showed up out of nowhere waving, flags, right?
They were funded by.
Number one on the list, funded by the SPLC. Because I remember being like, who in the fuck are these guys? Like no one ever heard of those guys. And then it's like, oh, and the Klan, and it's like, I thought they all died of old age, like in the 70s.
Now still getting funded.
Yeah, but apparently, and here's what I was thinking: as much as I've been called a racist on Twitter and stuff over the years, I probably should have hit up the SPLC to see if I couldn't get a fat check.
I was just like, they were probably the ones who were like funding Clayton Bigsby.
Shut up. But no, I'm being. It's like they gave some leader of some group like millions of dollars. I'm sitting here being like, I could pretend to be like a hardcore white supremacist if somebody pay me millions of dollars, right?
Yeah,
I
and
mean,
we were talking about that today. I get along with anybody as long as they're cool.
James L., that is a thing. In the 80s, 90s, is like no one gave a shit. Even in the early 2000s, no one really gave a shit. I'll tell you what, this is a, what do you call it, conspiracy theory? But I heard this conspiracy theory. You will notice that white supremacy only become a problem in the United States shortly after the,
Obama administration.
no, dude, kind of, but no. The Occupy Wall Street movement. Because, like, when the poor people started rallying together and being like, F Wall Street and all these bastards, right? They didn't know what to do about. And then the next thing you know, there's racism behind every garbage can. And, well, hey, in WW2, who were allies, homie? So, I mean,
Go to Japan, you could go to cafes with those girls.
yeah, they do have cafes over there where they do dress up like
No Germans.
two Germans. So, yeah, I remember there was a whole to do because China had like this big electronics store. Everything in there was themed on World War II Germany. And like when American tourists and shit were going over there, they're like, what? You have all these hot Chinese floor girls dressed up like Hugo Boss.
There's a dirty goblin in the chat.
He's the nerdiest of nerdy ogres. Yeah,
Oh,
that's exactly what I think happened, James L. Is the people who are powerful and have a lot of money started pushing the white supremacy angle to get the common people fighting each other so that we would stop concentrating on the fact that we're all getting taken to the bank by a bunch of offshore, dudes that are just being crooked.
China did something pretty based here recently.
Canada made, no one wants Canadian maid services though.
James,
What?
China did something pretty based recently. OnlyFans is illegal. They said it was a corrupt on traditional society, and it brings down the downfall of the family.
This is what always amazed me. I will opine for a moment to you, my brother. I've always been amazed on Twitter, X, whatever, that all of these people with their little red flower revolutionary communists, right? They're all super pro LGBT and all that stuff. They're all super progressive. And it's like,
They don't know what communism is.
obviously, you do not know what communism is because under Stalin, under Mao, I mean, communism and every nation that has adopted communism has become like hyper conservative, like as far as, sex and stuff like that,
Yeah,
like the
because
whole same sex shit that only works in like liberal Western democracies.
because communism know that families are the main support of their country. So if
Well, yeah,
they're
you look
having
at
all
the big
this,
socialists of the last era. It was the German Socialist Party and then the Soviet Socialist Party. And in both of those parties, if you were one of these guys running around with assless chaps, you got whacked.
hey, what
Hey,
up,
what's up,
Steven?
Steven? So it's like one thing that the hardcore collectivist groups all agree on, whether it's Pol Pot, Mao, freaking, the Austrian painter, Stalin, is that, yeah, you don't do that shit. you know. Yeah, a lot of first world problems is what it is.
Yeah, but
But
China
in
said,
this particular case, I think, and I could be crazy, and I'm not trying to sound like a communist because I'm not, because I think the people I'm actually talking out against are the real communists. Um, they used their influence and money to make America get convinced that we had a racism problem, because then people stopped worrying about what we really have, which is a crony capitalist problem. And, with all these people doing all their international trade and whatever they're doing. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Vice is a bourgeoisie thing. That is not a collectivist issue there. You don't, yeah. And you think about it, it makes sense too, because the wealthier a government gets, a nation gets, the wealthier they get, the less they have to worry about starvation, the more they turn to, things we would consider degenerate or extreme, you know. Uh, but so I got some more vehicles from CAV because apparently after making an account on Reaper and then going on to the account and actually bitching about how none of their CAV shit is ever in stock.
they send you some.
They didn't send it to me for free, but guess what? It's in stock, some of it. So what I really want is they have some hover vehicles that are infantry carriers. They look very similar to my metal Maxim
Oh
infantry
shit!
carriers.
I seen a meme today, and it reminded me of you so hardcore.
It
And
reminded you of what?
I seen a meme that reminded me of you. It was where Doctor Strange is going to do the surgery, and the doctor's like, "You can't do it by hand." He's like, "I can and I will." And then it shows a guy painting Lamenters, Space Marine shoulder pads.
Oh my God.
They're like, I should copy that and send that to my brother.
Or put it on the Discord, because I will tell you what, you know that you are dedicated to your 40K army when you have painted 100 black and white checkered freaking shoulder pads with
With no hearts in them.
little bleeding hearts in the middle. It's
He
like,
did that.
yeah, of course I did. Making the missed breakfast. Hey, that's what I'm talking about.
I feel bad for Steven over on the left coast.
Well, he's on the better part of the left coast, though. I mean, people I think a lot of time forget that there's actually a part of the left coast that's not really left. You know what I mean? It's like you got kind of. As a matter of fact, if you look at the maps, We call it the left coast. Really, what we should be calling it is
And he's gone. So you guys like saying slurs and stuff?
shut up. But it's like, yeah, it's the cities. Like Seattle, ask anyone who lives in Seattle. If you drive like 50 miles east of Seattle, you're in cattle country.
Dude, you're
Those
preaching
guys,
to the choir. I know how the left coast is because I've traveled all the way up it. And
right.
you're exactly right. You go into the city, Portland or Seattle or anywhere, LA, anywhere on the left,
Well,
and
it's like Chicago.
it's like shit. But then you travel, you know, 40 miles north of Seattle, and it's just countryside.
Yeah. If Chicago vanished, Illinois would be like one of the most hardcore red states in the
Yeah,
union.
Illinois is a beautiful state outside of Chirac,
And that's what I'm saying. It's like
and
it,
Northern California is just gorgeous.
I know a lot of people were talking about wanting to get rid of the electoral college. Shut up, Alexa. How that happens, I don't know. Alexa, tell my national security agent I said hello. But yeah, it's like if as soon as you leave Chicago, you are in like the deepest reddest state ever.
You can buy ammo at the gas stations.
Right. I mean, all the guys I know who are from Illinois, not Chicago, but Illinois, are like hardcore into hunting and fishing, and they're just average kind of bros, you know. So I
Well, look at
wonder if anyone has ever done some kind of sociological like study to see what it is about cramming people together in a city makes them all like noodle heads.
I don't know. I live out in the country.
Right. But there is something about cramming a bunch of people into a small city type area that turns them all kind of stupid,
Yeah, look at New York.
makes them all dumb, you know? And I wonder what it is. I wonder if it's like a lack of like being able to take care of yourself and over dependence on the government. Like, what is going on with those guys that make them that way? That's kind of my question. Yeah, Northern California, they've been wanting to be their own state since before World War One.
Northern California is gorgeous,
Yeah, they were supposed to be, I think, the state of Jefferson, and then like we got involved in a war and forgot about it.
and parts of Southern Cali are really nice too.
Yeah. See, Florida, we're weird because like where I live is technically purple, but not really.
Florida's the Australia of America.
Yeah, we're the Australia of America, and our politics are weird.
Did you hear
Yeah,
about
it's like they get into like the city, and then all of a sudden they get their septum pierced and they dye their hair,
I have
which breaks my heart because those were two things that let you know you were dealing with a fun person back in the like 90s.
I have a question. Is it like against the law for lesbians to have nice haircuts?
I have a question.
Yeah.
Should men all get together and pass a law saying that lesbians are not allowed to use any phallic shaped device?
I've been saying that for years. They made their choice. They need to live with it.
Right? It's like you made your choice.
That's
Live
why I
with it.
say it's bullshit because I work at an adult store. You never see a lesbian coming in and buying a fake vagina, but you see a lot of lesbians coming in and buying fake phalluses. Now, dudes will come in and they will buy fake butts and fake phalluses. But lesbians, they always buy the phallus. So it's bullshit posturing.
Dude, you sound like chasing Amy.
It's true.
You know, when the one guy's gone off about how lesbians are just bullshit
Because
posturing.
they are.
But gay dudes, that's like real.
Yeah.
You
Now,
know? It's like,
it's true.
okay, I'll take your word for it. I don't want to, but I
I've dealt with
suppose
it.
I have to. I don't want to know how you know.
Uh,
You know what I am, Hoss?
a dude with a cool haircut.
Unfireable.
Da, 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 da.
You know what I'm talking about, don't you?
Yeah.
Hootie got feelings too. Get out of here, Hootie. Your career is over. That shit's funny.
Hootie. Dear Hootie by the Blowfish.
Yeah. But like, it's Hootie from the Last Blowfish. Yeah. I love when the dude does the pit bull stuff.
Yeah.
Like all of his pit bull skits are hilarious. They really
Yeah.
are.
Yeah, Timmy. I've converted many girls into lesbians.
Converted many women into lesbians.
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't think that's the braggable thing.
they
But
figure if they can't be with me, they might as well never be with another man.
yeah, just you believe that. Is there nothing Hootie can do?
I don't know. I had powerful luck with ladies of the lesbian persuasion, especially at SCA. And they were always all about me.
Well, so were the gay men too, though.
James Larry, yeah, I don't know what's up with that. I never messed around with any of those
Yeah, but they love you.
because I'm just lovable. Everybody loves me.
Yeah, I've told that story before. How like I had to admit that after a while there was a part of me that started feeling like,
What's wrong with
"What's up,
me?
Big James?" Yeah, because it's like everywhere we went, the gay dudes are always hitting on Hungar. No gay dude has ever hit on me, and I started getting like a weird self-esteem issue. Like, what is going on? My girlfriend said it was because I was intimidating, but I don't know if that's true. Maybe I'm just not pretty.
Everybody loves Hungar.
And actually, she didn't say intimidating. She said I had dead eyes.
No,
Like, what the hell?
Ash has dead eyes.
Yeah, he's got eyes like a shark, doesn't he?
His eyes don't reflect light.
Yeah. How did the game go, Steven? It
It was
freaking
great.
went.
It was great. We had a lot of fun.
Yeah,
I,
it went. The
I like.
party threatened to kill each other. One of the people at my table taught me to never ask players anything ever again. Because I thought it'd be cool, right? Since they're taking a break, I rolled on the sword and sorcery, like in between adventures thing that Northwind put out, right? And it said that one of the players, a specific player who had gotten really, really drunk, got into a duel to the death, right? And being, yeah, shut up. And being the nice DM that I am, I decided instead of telling her what happened to cause her to get into the duel to the death, I would ask her what she did that caused her to get into the duel to the death. And basically, she was going to sleep with some dude. And when he took his pants off, she laughed at him and made fun of his wee wee. Now, part of that makes sense, again, like I told you, because they were in the Celtic lands, and we all know about the Irish curse and the angry Irish inch. So, you're an emotional desert? Wow. Hmm. I know you said one of your exes. I don't even know. I don't even know what that means. If
Continue the
somebody said
story.
you're an emotional desert, I'd be like, I don't even know what you're saying, kid.
Continue the story.
I don't know what else to say. I said it all the other
Yeah,
night. I thought.
the assassin told this dude she's Amazon. So she said, "Well, some guy and me were going to get freaky," and he pulled down his pants, and I laughed at him and said he's got a wee wee of a tootsie roll, and that caused them to get in a duel the next day. And then the next day, she intimidated him out and ran him out of town.
Yeah, but she's a big girl, and for the longest time, I was pretty convinced her character was lesbian. So,
I'm still convinced that she might be.
Well, she was being awful friendly with those other Amazons. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And she's always making fun of the smaller men in the group.
Thank you, George. I won a map set from Arduin Bloody Arduin on Shadow's show. And
That
I
is
won
awesome.
and I won the new box set that's coming out this summer.
Also awesome.
Well, you know how I love maps.
Yeah. And some terrain. Yeah, I heard a couple of you guys won a bunch of stuff.
I gave up the terrain for the maps. I won a bunch of terrain from. I won the big terrain set from Swords and Lasers.
Oh, those are pretty good though. I bought them. I don't use them at all, but they're still kind of good.
I gave it up because I'd rather have the maps.
Right. Yeah, my problem with sword and lasers is the same problem I have with like Dwarven Forge. I don't like to lay a whole dungeon out and then cover it over and remove
Yeah,
5 or more. I like to just use the grid, and then what I have now, I don't even know that Haas has seen,
I
is
haven't seen it.
these 2-inch wall sections, and they're about half the height of a player. So they're about half an inch tall, little walls with doors. And I, because I am special and extra creative, I stole the idea from Professor Dungeon Master. So a lot of times, if it's a big room, I just do the corners and then put pillars in and mark the doors. I don't
Yes.
worry about putting every wall in, because if you put the corners in and you mark pillars and stuff within that boundary, the players will automatically imagine what you don't show them.
Yeah, somebody won a 90-piece Sword and Laser figure set.
That's cool. And a lot of times, as we know, some of us know, um, a lot of times when you're running a D&D game, it's what you don't describe in detail that will be the thing the players actually remember the most. So basically, stealing the whole idea of cosmic horror writing from Lovecraft.
Yeah.
Like, you don't have to be super detailed with stuff a lot of the time,
Because people are going to use their imagination more
because
often.
then, yeah, they use their imagination, and if they want super detailed, they will ask you for super detail. They will ask you exactly where, and what.
Shit.
But
I got to get
otherwise,
ready.
otherwise, like I said, just let them fill the
Use the
blanks
pen.
in themselves.
I got to get ready to go get corn dog.
Okay,
I love you.
I love you. That's
Talk,
funny. In one of my computer games, I have a horse, and I named it Corn Dog.
nice. Well, his name's not corn dog, but he had to work on 50-cent corn dog day at Sonic, and he complained about making like hundreds and hundreds of corn dogs that day. So, of course, that's his new name.
Yeah, that's how it works.
And then the other night, I caught him eating some corn dogs, so I caught him a dirty cannibal, which is great.
I just want you to shut up and go away.
You love me,
I do.
though you're too sorry to call me on Saturday. Had the
Was
monster
I supposed to
call me.
call you?
Yeah, monster called me.
I asked her to.
Yeah, I love it when she calls me.
I was like, call my dumbass brother who apparently forgot the game's on in like.
And I never know when the game starts because sometimes it'll start at 6 and sometimes it'll start at 8. So I just wait for one of you to let me know that the game's getting ready to start.
Well,
And
if
then I
you
log
go
on
to Discord, it will start quicker.
and I'll just log on and just sit there for half an hour, listen to everybody talking shit for a while before the game starts.
Don't act like you're not just as bad. Players do that.
Yeah, but I try. I don't talk shit during the game.
No, you just cause shit. Anyway,
I,
go do
I
your thing.
hardly even talk during the game. So yeah,
Hey, I thought you had somewhere deep.
I do. Love you.
Love you. Yeah, so in other Haas news, the person that Haas was casting the curse on to make that person unable to achieve his dreams as far as erections, That person's wife confronted Haas's character and told him to stop it. So that happened. So yeah, I mean, my game is pretty wild. There's a lot of crazy shit going on. Well, Steven, down here in the South, Cornhole is this game that everyone loves to play, where you throw a beanbag at like a wooden ramp with a hole in it. So it's almost like a weird kind of evolution of horseshoes, I guess. And people seem to like it more because it's just a lot more mobile. You can buy like a cornhole set for cheap. You can put it in your trunk, bust it out, set it up, and go start throwing beanbags around. Zero issues, right? Whereas with horseshoes, you'd have to hammer in everything. And so yeah, that's a thing down here now. uh, I would personally rather play horseshoes, but hey, whatever. Even though I do have to admit I'm not good at horseshoes. Never have been really. Just not one of those guys. Just not my game. But see, the thing is, guys, is I got these bodies, and they're CAV bodies called Outlaws, right? And they have a missile launcher on the back. But the other thing is, I have all of these LRM and SRM sets from Catalyst. Like here's the SRM launcher sets. So I am wondering if I should actually, because the idea of an LRM in Bautech is kind of generic. You can pretty much just say LRM launcher, and it really doesn't matter what it looks like as long as it's you've got LRM launchers and you've got small LRM launchers. It just determines how many missiles is this bastard actually got on it, right? That's all you're really worried about. So yeah, there's a part of me that's thinking maybe I will use the Catalyst launchers with the cab body and just try to make something like that. Like another thing I ended up getting called the Centipede is pretty much a BTR 80, an 8-wheeled vehicle, and with the missile launchers that you can get in Bautech, some of them hover, some of them are on tracks, and some of them aren't wheeled. So it's like, do I want to put the two maybe large lasers or whatever is on this thing, or do I go ahead and just slam an SRM on it and say it's some kind of city fighting, basically a wheeled vehicle with a shit ton of missile launchers on it, right? And because I misordered when I ordered these things back then, and I ordered 4 of them, thinking I would get 4 of them, and in fact, I got 8 of them. My wife is in the kitchen cooking something. So yeah, that's what went on in game mostly. The cleric convinced them to jump to a portal. They ended up near Mount Vermithorn. They got into a lot of battles. Then the assassin made fun of somebody's ding dong, which started a freaking war. And we pretty much ended it there, honestly. I mean, I really felt like that was just about all the damage we could do at that point. So I was just like, yeah, I think we'll just call it, So we called it around 11. And so that particular game night, we played probably about 5 hours. And that's kind of, depending on what's going on in game, that's kind of what you get at my table, between 4 and 6 hours. Like, like I've told you guys multiple times before, if I notice some of my construction worker bros starting to pass out and shit, I'll wrap the game up a little early, because you know I don't want to be that guy. That's all. Like, you gotta keep playing even though you're falling asleep. That's just not who I want to be. So Udi's got feelings too. Yeah, Shadow. That's awesome though. That Shadow did that thing. I missed it. I meant to be on a show this morning, and then I ended up getting involved with doing other stuff. Probably not as fun. So, eh, you know, what can you do? Just what are you gonna do about it, right? But I'm hoping that Reaper will one day actually print the maulers out. There was flour literally on the counter, or was that sugar? What are you cooking? Oh yeah, Paul. The thing is, as I'm sure you figured out, my brother, because he's in Tennessee, he logs on and plays on Discord while the rest of us are in person down here. Which, I've talked about how that's kind of taught me to try to be a lot more aware of the poor Discord players, because a lot of times, they're like just hanging out there in the blue, wanting to play, and it's easy to ignore them because they're not right in your face yelling about whatever is happening. And so, yeah, you're not the only one that's ever popped in. And honestly, I don't care if anyone does pop in. It doesn't bother me, as long as they don't interrupt the game. If somebody wanted to pop in and just listen to us rampage around, that's fine. But you know, one time Timmy popped in right as, like, the players were all shouting f bombs at each other. He popped in and heard it and was like, boop, right back out. I was like, hey, bro, nothing you heard was actually anyone really in real life fighting. They were role playing some problems they were having with each other, because they're a bunch of cantankerous bastards, is what they are. And I got a Reaper Barbarian I'd never seen before. That's like a remake. Apparently, they haven't made this figure in a long, long time. They decided to bring it back. But unfortunately, it's the old Reaper White material, so it's pretty, like, flexy. You know what I mean? Not a super fan of that. It's more like a vinyl than a polyethylene or polystyrene model. And yeah, so that's like the super cheap Reaper models that they used to make, the original bones, as it were. And I've never been a super fan of the original bones models. And now I'm trying to figure out where I even put the damn thing. I didn't drop it. It's not under my pile of skeletons. That's right. I got a pile of skeletons. Actually, I got a bunch of these. You never know when you're going to just need like piles of skeletons all over the place. I've got my Balette, the Pirate Queen model here I need to paint. Which reminds me, at some point today or tomorrow, I need to go out in the garage and start going through my cases of miniatures and figure out where all my Pictish warriors are. Because I have all the archers up there, but all the actual warriors with hand weapons, I am unaware of where they, I know they're in a case. I just don't know where. And I kind of would like to, have access to them since picks are kind of a thing. And so grab my old pickle jar, which is full of soapy water, and drop this bad boy right in it. Whoop. Actually, all of these new Reaper models go in it. As soon as they are glued together, they go in the soapy water because that is pretty much the only way to make it where when you paint them, they don't just all act a fool. Wish I could get into it, but right now all my gaming money goes in. 20% sell. That's a great deal. I mean, even the thing is, basically, it's 2 books. They're $60 a piece, and if you buy the bundle, then you get the Atlas for free. So it ends up being like $120, which is a lot of money, but only if you don't compare it to whatever other game most people are playing. I mean, OSC is more expensive. Well, Dragon Slayer is less expensive. It's only $80, really. OSC though is more expensive. AD&D, or no, not AD&D. 5e, 5 point whatever is more expensive. So, yeah, it just really depends. It just really depends on what you're looking at and what you want to do with it. I personally, I think it was not a bad investment, but then again, I'm having a great time with it. If it's not a game that you think you're going to like, then, you know, Adventure Conqueror King apparently is even more expensive, but I don't know. I bought it and I don't remember it being that expensive, but then again, I bought it a long, long time ago. Probably the most expensive game I own overall, as far as total, is Conan 2.20. And the reason is because I bought every book for Conan 2.20. So even though the rule book wasn't that expensive, by the time you add up every one of the source books, then yeah, it's pretty expensive. So yep, I'm turning these centipedes into SRM launchers. That's what I'm doing. Just wheeled SRM launchers, which means I'm gonna have like 8 SRM launchers, 4 tracked and 4 wheeled, and they would use the same exact sheet, really. Well, yeah, yeah, I got them here, and they are. I can't tell if that's stitched binding. No, it looks like it is. Yeah, maybe. It's got the cool, you know, silk ribbons. Where do I got the pages open to now? Yeah, weapons. I don't need them at weapons. I need them back here. Definitely the spell list because they've got all the spells listed, and then you know, and that's the one that ends up getting looked at a lot. Spell list. And what is this? The assassin definitely doesn't need to be there, but yeah, I suspect these books are going to probably last. But yeah, they're stitched. I can see where the stitching is. I suspect these books will last for a very long time. I love the name charts where you can just random up a name. Like my brother's character's name is like Gar Valzul or something like that, or Ghoul. Yeah, it's Ghoul. So he's like Gar Val Zan Ghoul. But like if you wanted to know what a good name for an Eskimo is, you know, Kakortok, Karpak, Kosak, Kinatok, Kinapak, Magayuk, Seamik, Tartak, Suka Bliat. Greek names for females and males. The guy at the table, his name is actually Phalanthos. That's his first name. Phalanthos something. We've got Anglo-Saxon names, which are weird because when you do Anglo-Saxon names, you have to do a personal name, and then you have to do like a clan name, and you know, there's like a whole. But yeah, the appendix for has the name generator, common human names, Amazon personal names for females and males. Carolingian Franks. Let's see. Autofleta. That's a female name. So Alaric, Amalaric, Andika, Ansevald, Gunther, Lothar, Egomir. I'm just like looking at names at random here. Um, and then you've got this recent hybrid race, the ex-Eskimo Ixian. And the reason that's a recent hybrid race is because the Ixians have enslaved a shit ton of Eskimo. Yes, I will add that to the list, 100%. So, so yeah, and the Ixians are pretty much Scythians. So they have some weird kind of stuff here too. Like if you have a female, she has her name, but then she has a patronymic for female, and it's if it's a daughter of, it's Thugater. So if you have a female character, her name might be Maris Thugater Eotis, something like that. Celtic names, which are basically all of your everything you would think of when I say Celtic name. Yes. Fionn, Finian, Dougal, Dubagan, Donan, Siobhan, you know, Sorka, all of that's on here. Cimmerian names, interesting, because they were a steppe people who came to use the Hellenic tongue as their own. So, you know, you got a bunch of, let's see, where are the male names? Rhizos, Dentupus, Diazinus, Dizapis, Drinus, Curses, Mucus, Muca, Kinthos, and lap names, because let's be honest, who wouldn't want to play a Finn, right? Yeah, these books have great paper quality and it is not glossy. I prefer non-glossy. As a matter of fact, if I had any complaint about Free League, especially the game Coriolis, it was that they used not only glossy, but it was like white letters on black background. It was like so. A personal name for a Laplander is like Einar, Egon, Holger, Victor, Otto, Saba, Nico, Jonas, Ivar, and then all the laps have clan names. So after you get your personal name, which could be something like Amon or A, because there's the letter O, so it's A, Amon, and then you might be of the clan of the bear, or of the clan of the elk, of the clan of the, whatever, like that. Lemurian names, and they always put the family name before their personal name. So almost like how East Asians do in a way. So the example is a character whose name is Chang of the Baba family would actually be called Baba Chang. And you've got all these Naido, Nazan, Onaga, Zhao, Zhang, Wang, Wei, Wada, Yan, Yan or Yin, Sai, Tian. So yeah, they're basically the Lemurians are your pretty much Proto-Asians. Moorish names because obviously you might want to have a Moorish woman named Aisha. That's on here. Or a Moorish male whose name is Manatis or Sufyan or Tariq. And Mu. The Mu have genderless names except for unmarried females. Huh. So, yeah, they don't even care. Two. Mezgita, Munatenorma, Lakata, Galugmat. I'm not 100% sure what earth culture the Mu are supposed to be. And then you've got your Pictish names, which include Boudica and Kalgakos, Singetorix, but not Visingetorix. That's odd. I mean, guys, there's so many freaking, so many, like every culture you can think of, just about, like Roman names and cognomen. So, so Romans will have a name and then a nickname, apparently. So you could be, you will have your personal name, then you will have your family name, and then you'll have the cognomen. So you could have a character named Marcus or Tincius Mergus, and Mergus is like a gull, or Macra, which means thin, Lupus, like a wolf, Plingit. Yeah, the Tlingit are pretty much the Native Americans from the Northwest. So and then of course your Viking names, and that comes with patronymic modifications. The Yakut are the Siberians, and it says here they are traced to the Kaukzu cultist ancestors of old Earth. They have no surname. And then the Anglo-Saxons, Franks, etc., they have epithets that you can have, like the gruesome, the pale, the resilient. And just in case anyone was wondering, yes, there are full rules for building your own strongholds and who will show up and how much it will cost and all of that sort of stuff. Mm, There's even rules in here for playing solo. But yeah, there's the list for how much everything will cost. Like if you want to build a stronghold and you want to build a stone wall, it tells you how many thousands of gold pieces, how much a keep will cost, towers and moats and all that. And then also it's got construction times. So, and it's got a list of hirelings that you could have, like an animal trainer, a coal burner, charcoal burner, or peat man, wheelwrights, peasant workers, slaves, what resources might be within the dominion, how to avoid angry villagers and military coups. Probably a good idea. And then, unlike some books, this book actually has a good index. And I don't know why so many role playing game books don't put indexes in the book. It's like, I mean, come on, man. Give me that index. I want to be able to index things. But revenge implies I was trying to hurt people, according to the television in there. Like, not necessarily. But if you're trying to get revenge on like a dragon, that's not a person. Knock yourself out. Go get your revenge, right, brother? Okay, so where is there it is. I must have made a big mistake there. I'm making these guys all out to have SRM launchers, and I almost glued an LRM launcher on it. So there we go. Probably paint these guys up in like a city camo, so gray with like white and black, splotches or stripes or something. I think that'll look really cool. The LRMs I'll probably paint up more in a forest camo since, or a normal camo pattern, since you figure they're probably going to be out in the actual countryside slinging arrows LRMs at people. So it makes a lot more sense for them to be painted up for that kind of terrain. But yeah. So those of you who didn't hear, though, an interesting thing that did happen is the players traded 2 gallons of wine to a group of men of Ling for a handful of gemstones, only later to find out that the gemstones were glamored so that as soon as they went away from where the men of Ling were, the glamour went away and they just had a handful of rocks. So, but they were just happy to get away from the men of Ling, who I think in game were just creeping the players out, because of the whole communicating by panpipe and etc. I think the players were just not super comfortable with those guys really, and just wanted them to go away. So yeah. I've got a bunch of dead bodies that I need to paint. There's like this 3D printer on Amazon, and I forget the name, but they 3D print everything with like filament printer. But whatever filaments they have got them keyed in. I mean, they're amazing. Can you believe that's a filament print? So for very, very cheap, I think it was like under $10, I bought a wagon and it came with like a bunch of corpses. So I could make like, a corpse wagon. And so, yeah, what I ended up doing is using some of the dead guys and gluing them onto like torture devices and stuff that I had laying around, like, a rack or something, because, oh, maybe it's weird, but I do find myself needing those sort of things in my game often. And of course, Draugr are one of my favorite monsters in fantasy. I am a huge fan of the Draugr, the undead Viking raider coming across the sea and their rotten longships to, basically just mess everything up. That to me is like awesome. Love it. Love it, love it, love it. And so, because I'm a huge fan of having Draugr to throw at my players, and also a huge fan of Frostgrave and Oathmark, I actually have enough Draugr laying around to fill an Oathmark army or a Frostgrave warband. So I could have my undead Draugr wizard be like a necromancer, and then have all of the different Draugr, depending on how they're armed, being my thieves and thugs and warriors and whatever, archers. And yeah, I'm kind of a huge fan of that, because when I play Oathmark, I definitely don't try to keep it, not weird. I definitely try to keep it as weird as possible. So, yeah. Okay, let's get these guys organized again. I got a random guy impelled. I've actually got a bunch of these. And I've got the miniatures for Vlad Tepes. And some of the random impelled guys are still dressed like Turks, from that era. So, kind of cool. Kind of cool. I can always set up a, can you imagine the players are wandering through an area and all of a sudden they start walking up on just a bunch of dudes impelled on giant ass, spikes or whatever. And I know if I were the players at that minute, I'd start being like, hold on now. Like, what have we wandered into over here? And I've got these guys, which originally came from the Mantic box set for Kings of War. But I use them to represent Eskimos, Inuits, whatever. You know, basically they're just a bunch of guys in hide and furs, dressed up like they live in the Arctic with bone weapons. So they do a pretty good job for that. I mean, that is kind of a thing I do. If I can put a use to a miniature, then yeah, I'm going to do that. You know. And since I've bought a lot of war games and ended up with a lot of figures for those war games, uh, if I can use the war game figures for my role playing games, um, that's just win-win all around. You know, that's just a good economic value. Like I don't know, maybe 15 or 20 years ago, I bought a bag of these things, and I've used them in so many different games. I think they were some for some kind of Lovecraftian board game that I actually never owned, but I use them in like tons of my role playing games, right? Just be like, well, there you go. It's you see this statue, and then they're like, oh shit. You know, even if their players aren't 100% sure whatever the statue is, you know, they can tell by looking at it that it don't look like a good statue. It really doesn't look like the kind of statue you'd want to run up on and be like, hey, this is a cool statue. Let's all hang around this. All right. I've got so many guts miniatures from Berserk that I'm actually thinking about painting one of them up to look like a Hyperborean. You know, like give him the really bone white skin and the even bone whiter hair and purple eyes. And I might do a weapon swap on him too, because as cool as the Dragon Slayer or whatever is, um, it might be neat to have just the guts model, but done up with like a giant axe or a big ass mace or hammer or something like that. I mean, if I give him a big hammer, then Hungar could use him, since his Hyperborean cleric is always, you know, slinging a big hammer around. That's kind of his whole gig, big two-handed hammer. I can hear my boy out back, not listening to his mom. Yeah, he is not listening. He's gonna get in trouble. I don't even know why she let him out, because I let him out literally before I sat down. So there's no reason in the universe that he would need to go out, an hour, every hour on the hour. That's just, maybe when he was a pup, that would have been a thing, but for a full-grown dog, I don't really think that it's really necessary. But it's not my circus. These guys I'm pretty fond of. I need to paint him, but I'm pretty fond of him. He's some kind of Cossack or something. He's got like a scimitar, and he's got his hair cut like bald, but with that top knot. So yeah, that's kind of cool. Fan of that. But I'm looking for a specific model that I had on the table. I know I had it, and now I'm wanting it. Let's see. Guys. Now the wife is cooking something. I don't know what it is, but it smells good. Put the tanks over here. Make sure that the guts I want, where he's swinging the sword big time, isn't over here. It's not. Got that black tepish. Actually, it was. It's right here. So this guy, boom. Didn't even think about it. I just snapped the Dragon Slayer right off of him. And that means I'm going to have to pin another weapon as if he's bringing it down, right? The good thing is I have tons of weapons in metal and plastic and whatever. I'll also want to paint his cloak up a different color than the brown that Guts wears, that dark brown. I'll probably paint it up purple or some really garish color. And then I will use Corpse Pill to paint his flesh and Bone White to paint his hair. And then for his eyes, I'll put a drop of violet in there. Give him the violet colored eyes. And I think that'll be kind of cool, actually. That'll be pretty cool, right? Have a Guts figure all done up like that. Yeah, that will be cool. And like I said, I have many of each of these sculpts, so I don't mind modding them up, doing weapon swaps, head swaps, whatever. You know, like with this Guts, if I want to get crazy, I could actually trim the big cloak off and then put like a fur cloak on, because I have one, but I'm not going to. I'm not, not so whatever that I want to get super nuts about it. I just wanted to swap one of the Guts up to look a little different than the other ones. So, scratch my nose for a minute. Yeah, what story were the Kraken worshippers in? I think that might be a Clark Ashton Smith story, but I'm not positive. But I do remember that Leaf and his Cherokee friend Jim ended up encountering the Kraken worshippers who lived like north of Mongolia, or in that region at least. And they were different than the other people of the region because they had blonde hair. And that was kind of like a thing that when they encountered Leaf, they thought Leaf was one of their people because he was really big and had blonde hair. So they immediately were like, yeah, this is one of our guys. That is a good set of stories. I forget exactly who did it, though. I don't think it was Lovecraft for sure, and I'm not sure if it was Clark Ashton or maybe, one of the other guys. Let's see now. So I got my guy, and now I'm just looking through my weapon selection. See what we're going to get in. We've got a big sword, a wavy flamberge, but I already know what I want to give him. That's the thing. I want to give him a big hammer. Yeah. Because he's very tall, so he would make a good Hyperborea for sure. So Let's put those guys right there. And since it's in my hand and I actually have the shield that would go with this guy, I've got a. This guy is either a Russian or a Varangian, which is the same thing. And I have a Varangian style teardrop shield. If you're wondering what the difference is, the Varangian teardrop shield is a lot wider than the Norman kite shield. And yeah, since the guy's there and I've got the glue right here, I might as well go ahead and put the shield on him, and then I'll paint it up at some point in the very near future, and then he will go in my collection of figures that are done. He would actually be a very good representation for a Cimmerian warrior, actually. He's wearing a lot of the right equipment for a Cimmerian. Edric. Looking. I like this guy. This is a hybrid figure. What I did is I 3D printed orcs that were designed for Lord of the Rings. So the body is an orc from like Lord of the Rings, right? But the head, if you look really close at the head, is pig-faced. And that's because I 3D printed a shit ton of the correct scale pig-faced orcs from Warp Miniatures. And then I kind of just made them, hybridized them. Because it kind of, in my opinion, I got the best of both worlds. I got kind of the Uruk-hai and the different armor and everything, and then I got the pig-faced orc, which is what I really wanted and need for Hyperborea, since orcs in Hyperborea are pig-faced. That's just the way it is. So this is the Outlaw, and it's a very large, actually, type of S or LRM thrower, but instead of the standard one that can chuck 60 LRMs, this guy can only chuck 20. But it's also got some kind of sensor on top and everything, so it's about twice the size of a standard LRM launcher, though. LRM launchers are typically very, very, they're not very big because it's pretty much a tractor, some kind of somewhat slightly armored tractor with just a missile launcher on top. So think like the BattleTech version of a Katusha or an, MLRS system or something. Definitely not meant to have the enemy get anywhere near it. Otherwise, it's just going to get curb stomped. Now, what I could do is I have small turrets that could be medium lasers, and I could glue one of those turrets on the front deck of it to show that, it gave up some of the LRMs for a few, point defense weapons. That might be good. That's a thought. I will think about that. But till then, let's find my mustardy color. Something smells good. I don't know what my wife's cooking, but it smells pretty damn good. Here we go. Yep. This is the night. So none of you will be surprised to find out that after I got offline last night, I decided to challenge my wife to a game of Agricola, and she beat the shit out of me. I'm sure none of you are super amazed by that. You're probably all like, well, that's what happens. And you would be right. That basically appears to be what happens. Okay. So let's pull these guys out of the soapy water. Put them in the drying bin. There we go. All right. Then I've got whole red, those weird six-legged wolves. I've already painted them and put a wash on them. So now I'm going to start a dry brush on them, and I'm using whole red, which is a very, very dark, like red brown color. And I'm trying to decide whether I should like do the underbody like a different color, or maybe do the tail and the back ridge a different color. I don't know whether these are even natural creatures. I haven't decided yet. If they're not natural creatures, then I could get wild with it and actually have their back ridge and everything being made out of fire or something. And say there's some kind of weird elemental hound, but we shall see. Not a small vicious dog. He is a small vicious little pupper. Are you being a small vicious pupper? Huh? Mishka. Hey. The neighbors across the street are going somewhere, and my dog likes to keep track of what everybody in the neighborhood's up to at all times. He is just that kind of pupper, you know. He is very concerned with what everybody's doing at any given time. So those guys are dry brushed. He's ready. Put that there. Grab these. And then put those guys down there. These poor centipedes, I bought them all, and I'm not building any of them to actually represent what they are. I'm building them all to be missile boats. But the idea of like a wheeled missile boat, I don't know. I like it. It appeals to me, for like sci-fi games. It just really appeals to me. So, tired. We'll keep this up until I am too tired to be awake. Y'all just want to know that you're alive. Like, don't tell anybody I'm alive. Damn it. That's the last thing I want. I'm trying to be like incognito. Right? Right. So, there were some people on the other day that really wanted to ask questions about Hyperborea. Hoping one of them shows up and asks questions about Hyperborea. Uh, Now the next Willet Hyperborea is going to be Temple of the Frog. I think it's either going to be Temple of the Frog or the Forbidden City. Um, so I believe both of those are AD&D adventures, and frogs are a really cool kind of Lovecraftian creature for whatever reason. You know, it's well, first off, the Sagua they sometimes describe as looking like a giant toad monster. So right off the bat, I mean, Temple of the Frog could be somehow affiliated with the Sagua. And according to Hyperborea lore, a lot of monsters out in the wilderness will gather around temples or shrines that had been set up to the Sagua and croak and wail and howl and whatever they do, right? So there's some kind of connection there. But there's also a connection with Yandala too. Um, so yeah, they're both will work. The hardest part I've had of the two adventures I made, and I mentioned this in the last video, it was like the most difficult part of making a Willet Hyperborea video is trying to talk about something that's so freaking obvious. Because as soon as you start talking about like the Lost City or Isle of Dread or whatever, and you're like, okay, so in order to use this for Hyperborea, and you start going down the list, it's like, well, no shit, this would be useful for Hyperborea. You know, it's who are you even kidding over here? I mean, it's like half of those old school adventures were designed, and I've said this before, it really feels like a great many of those old AD&D adventures were written for Zothikwa or Zothik. Yeah, it really does seem like a lot of those adventures were actually written for Hyperborea more than they were for whatever Mystara or whatever world they were supposed to be in. You know, it's just like that has actually been my issue with you know. So I just page through the adventure and say what I would change. And so far, the things I would change have been like under 5 or 10 things, like super basic. So for the Lost City, I decided since it's a step pyramid, it's not Egyptian. Even though Egypt did have step pyramids, I know that. Very, very ancient pyramids in Egypt were step. I decided to go with Mesoamerican. So the albino people that have been living in their underground city for thousands of years had originally been Mesoamerican, maybe Aztec, right? And in the video, I even open up my AD&D first edition deities and demigods, and I pick which gods I would replace the three gods that they talk about in the adventure with. But at the end of the day, you wouldn't really have to, though. That again, that's the thing. If you wanted to have Gorm and Myrmidia and whatever, you absolutely could. Now, you might have to, if you do what I do for Hyperborea, you don't have to. See, I almost said you might have to, but you really don't have to. Instead of the king being Alexander, the queen Zenobia, yeah, large hairy toad, slothy, kind of small bat wings. Instead of Alexander and Zenobia, it would be no problem to look up, like you could say that the king's name was Pakahooty or Pakachutli or whatever, and the queen's name was something appropriately Mesoamerican. And that might actually make it even kind of cooler because, like we were talking about the other day, how Yeah, thank you. Like how we were talking the other day, it was Ominow and I about how Slavic mythology is just not represented very often in. Okay, I'm back. It is represented in Call of or Castles and Crusades because they have the um, whatever it's called, Slavinica or whatever, right? But in normal AD&D, it's just not represented as much. So I'm sitting here thinking, you know what else is not represented in normal D&D very much? Mesoamerican culture. You know, they tried it with Mazteca, but then I think they got frightened off. Honestly, between you and I think they just got scared. Kind of like how forever and ever and ever they were supposedly coming out with a setting in Africa, and that never happened. And I think it's because, again, uh, the creators at D&D just basically got terrified that if they tried to put out, a setting set in anywhere in Africa, and if they at all depicted the Africans in anything but the most glowing of terms, they would have got eaten alive. And I think with the Mazteca thing, there was a little bit of that too. So this guy, not an easy guy to paint. I've got him, and I'll show him to you. This is a Pomeranian standing up begging. Little Pomeranian. I also have a huge collection of cats, including swarms of cats, which are on like a big basin. There's like tons of cats on the base. And that's because I have instituted in my game. What have you done? Why do you look like that? My wife's standing over there looking like she just like the cat that ate the canary. What are you up to, woman? But so nice. So pretty much, um, yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing a little bit of. Now I know that John, the basic expert, made a whole game where you can play Aztecs and stuff, which I think is actually very very cool. So you know that's one of the reasons I decided to go with the Mesoamerican. I mean, seems like Egypt has been done to death in role playing games in one way or another. Uh, not that I'm necessarily opposed to that. I love a good setting that's based on Egypt, but I was just thinking to myself that the Mesoamerican setting would be even more unique, you know. So change the gods. So the war god would be Matsapwati or whatever. And then the female goddess, they don't really have a female war goddess, but they do have an Aztec goddess of flint knives. They've got an Aztec goddess of volcanoes. There's an Aztec goddess of vice. And I was thinking, okay, let's use the Aztec goddess of sin and vice. And then for the mage, um, we could go with Quetzalcoatl. We could go with Tlaloc. Uh, we could go with Tenochtitlan or Tenachalon, whatever. So yeah. There's just so many options there. You know that I was thinking. Any of these could be really cool. And of course, it means when I'm running the adventure, I would have to change how some of the characters kind of act, like the Myrmidons of whatever. would be totally different if the goddess they worshiped was a god of sin and vice. And the warrior god, Gorm's servants, they're probably going to be a little bit different if they're worshiping a deity that likes to flay men alive and wear their skin as a cloak. But would it be cool is the question. And also, you can change it up as much as you want since those people have been living underground for so long that you an argument could be made that whatever culture they used to be, they've completely drifted and become some other, an entirely new thing. So that's why in the video I pointed out that, or you could just leave it exactly the same because, you know, honestly, now that I think about it, if you're just going to have the hobgoblins in one adventure and not an actual race extent upon the continent, that could work because the players could just either, like, don't name them, just describe them. And the players could just assume that there's some group of humans that, you know, turned into orange skinned, you know, blue nosed assholes or something. It just wouldn't be that difficult to do. And so, yeah, in answer to what you were saying, Stephen, my biggest problem with the will it Hyperborea or not has been that everything will. You know, it's like there's probably some 4 ed, 5 ed adventures that absolutely will not Hyperborea because they, you know, feature, you know, too many humanoids that just don't exist. But then again, because I was thinking of the 4E adventure where you go into the Duergar city, right? But in second thought, you know, having the adventurers go deep underground and encounter a dwarven city full of evil, twisted, nasty, essaying dwarves, that would Hyperborea, you know, since that's kind of what dwarves in Hyperborea are all about. You know, being evil and, you know, twisted little bastards. You know, being that they're not actually born, they kind of evolve from maggots that, you know, work their way up through the stone, and the lucky ones will actually turn into dwarves and the unlucky ones will turn into, you know, these horrible creatures. So I decided to put some kind of panther markings on these guys. And what I'm going to go do, I put C's, right? And what that means is I'm going to go back and take a lighter color and put in the middle of the C, just little dots. I hope this paint isn't toxic because I'm constantly freaking, you know. And then I just did a dry brush on the actual mane and tail. The color I'm using is a dark yellow. So Dunkelgreb for the German speakers out there. Or you could use Japanese uniform yellow. You could use an ochre color. You know, there's a lot of colors that could be used. But yeah, I'm just consummate V's, right? Because if you want to draw Trogdor, you have to know how to draw consummate V's. A lot more colorful than I thought he would when I started working. I think you made chicken pot pie. Why are you waiting? What is it? Wait, no, it's fried zucchini. Fried zucchini. It's good. Okay, I mean, I don't know why you're trying to be so like sly about it. Good. I must not have hugged her enough today. I haven't created enough problems for her today. That's what it is. I need to create more problems. And in doubt, create problems. Be like that one guy from the meme. I do not want peace. I want only problems. That's right. Yeah, that's pretty good though. So, yep. Trogdor was a man. He was a dragon man. Actually, he was just a dragon. Burninating the villagers. Burninating the thatch roof cottages. Trogdor! That's right. Trogdor. The new hit song by everybody's favorite band, Limousine. Okay. Not really getting much painted today. You know, got a few things glued together, but I've been too looking at other things here. So now I'm going to take some of this pale khaki, and that's how I'll use to do the dots. Yeah, Sagwa, large hairy toad, sitting on a pile of skulls, randomly eating people if they wander into its cave. And he has relatives on Saturn who more often than less would rather not be bothered with, really. They're just like, hey, go away. Leave me alone. I got some other shit going on around here, right? At least that's what it was in the, window to Saturn or whatever. Such a good story. Yeah, I think Doc Flamingo actually wanted to read that and ended up reading it. So, okay. I'm wondering here. Maybe this would be a little bit better. Yep. Yeah, the commenting on the video, that's nice of you because of the. I learned this from Professor Dungeon Master. Let's say I have however many subscribers I have. You all will not get a notification that I'm on or that I've even put a video out. Only a portion of you will get the notification. And then based on how that portion of you works, whether you comment or like or whatever, more people might then get the update. And if you want it to go to like people beyond like your particular, base of players or whatever, then you have to have like overwhelming interaction. And the reason they did that is because it punishes smaller creators and it rewards like Fox News, CNN, people like that. Which apparently that's just what YouTube wants to do now, and that's why a lot of the guys that you know used to talk D&D or whatever have either taken breaks, quit altogether, or went to like Rumble or Kick or some other place because it's such. I mean, used to the way the algorithm worked is if you hit the bell, you were guaranteed to get notification. Okay, first, a long, long time ago, if you subscribed, you got the notifications. Then they added you had to hit the bell to get notifications. And now, even if you subscribe and hit the bell, there's no guarantee you're getting the notifications, And that is why, and don't take this as me complaining. It's just the weird way the system works, right? This is why I have shorts in my shorts category that have like 3,000+ interactions, views, etc. And then I have live streams that might have 150. And then I have videos that I've actually made for my channel that might have 40. It's just the way the system is set up. They want you to be watching the channels they want to watch. They want you to watch. So it's like you gotta. So they don't really have to shadow ban people anymore, is I guess what I'm saying. Because they did go through that where they were shadow banning people. They don't have to do it anymore because the way the algorithm works, it's always going to ignore people who have under however many thousands, right? Now, Double D is kind of the exception to that rule in that when he goes live, he always gets like a lot of viewers, but not. Well, first off, most of the viewers he gets are regulars. I've noticed that. Every now and then there might be a new guy show up, but they're regulars. And so even Double D's channel, which is way bigger than mine and way more popular, isn't getting pushed by the algorithm the way I think it actually should. If because when you look at, would you rather watch XP to level 3 or whoever talk about some lame ass shit, again, Jenny D or whatever, or would you rather watch, Double D putting on a whole, entertaining show about whatever he's putting it on about, right? And I think at least most of the guys I talk to would much rather watch Double D making fun of somebody or whatever, right? But the algorithm is not in his corner. It is not in his favor. And so it's not in mine either. The other weird thing that goes on with my channel a lot, and if I ever talk to Bruce again, if I ever can get him to show up to one of my shows, because Bruce, a lot of times, he doesn't have shows that I could just drop in and talk shit. His shows are all like focused on something. But I keep getting notifications. What's up, William? I keep getting notifications from YouTube asking if I want to copyright strike Bruce and Janet. And then when I look at Bruce and Janet's shows, whatever they're wanting to know if I want copyright strike them, it's nothing to do with me. So of course, obviously, I'm never going to copyright strike, two people I actually really like. But it's weird that, yeah, every time I log in and look at my analytics or something, it's like you've got people who have, stole your content. Do you want to see it? And then if I click yes, it's Bruce. And it's like, how is Bruce running his D&D game Saturdays stealing my content? I don't understand that. Except when I drop in and say hi. And so that's another thing that's been happening, like people who are my actual buddies, YouTube is asking if I'm being copyrighted or if they're stealing my stuff. And like I said, I'm like, one, no, and two, I wouldn't really care if they were, because I'm just not that, I don't care. I mean, if somebody wants to take one of my videos and react to it, I guarantee you I'm not going to copyright strike anyone. So, if I were to put out another, let's say tomorrow I put out a Will It Hyperborea, and the next day someone put out a Will It whatever Hyperborea, and it was basically the same module. Yeah, I wouldn't do anything about that either. I'd be like, well, okay. I mean, I don't care. So that's something that's really been eating at me. And the next time I talk to Janet or Bruce on Discord, I'm going to bring that shit up and be like, well, I can't be like anything. I can just bring it up and say, YouTube keeps wanting me to copyright strike you guys. And of course, like I said, I'm never going to do it. And then that makes me wonder, like, is Shadow getting notices to copyright strike my stuff? Like, how is this go? How does this? I think you understand what I'm saying here. Is like, how does this work? Like, what is going on? What's going on? I actually despise that band, but William Sova, yeah, I'm getting ready to take off in 3 minutes. I was only planning to be on a couple hours, and my brother showed up, but then he had to make up an excuse to get off because that is my brother, and that is his prerogative to do. And then mostly it's been me talking about Hyperborea being the greatest game ever, and the weird shit that YouTube does, So I may absolutely, it might kill this channel, but at some point in the near future, I might absolutely just become like Rumble, because I never get any weird shit from Rumble. You know what I mean? I've only got like 13 people who are subscribed to my channel on Rumble. I don't care. I mean, if YouTube's going to continue to be kind of shady about everything, that might be time for me to just go do something else, Especially, like I said, if the algorithm is already set up for me to fail anyway, right? Because if I wanted to be a YouTuber guy, I probably should have got on YouTube, back in the day when PewDiePie and everybody were getting on. Back when it was more like the Wild West and you could actually just get on here and do shit. And if someone subscribed to you, they actually got notifications and stuff. But, those were the wild days, because like Fox News and stuff like that were not on YouTube at all. And pretty much hardly anything was freaking banned. I mean, I remember the time when you could go on YouTube and you could just listen to music, and it wasn't actually the music put out by Vivo or something. It was just some dude uploaded some music he liked, and then all the copywriting stuff started going on. And YouTube kind of become a shell of itself, you know. But there was a time where some of you might even remember you could go on YouTube and it would just be Marvin Gaye, what's going on? Yeah. Yeah. See, when I think of that kind of music, Coco, the song that always comes to my mind is Ain't No Sunshine When She's Gone. I absolutely love that song. Just the whole Ain't No Sunshine When She's Gone. But no, I'm just over here kind of complaining about how I never really knew how the algorithm works, and now that I've listened to it be explained by Professor Dungeon Master, I'm pretty upset now that I've learned how it works, because it's like, really, you know? And I don't even chase views, but I do have this weird innate sense of things should be fair, and they are definitely not fair. And it's not like, again, I'm not whining about better channels doing better, because I do understand there are better channels and they do better, and I congratulate them on their success. But it's kind of like even the better channels are getting screwed with, you know? It's like, yeah, Dungeon Professor did a video a while back, and it like was just a list of all the Dungeon and Dragon YouTubers that are gone now. In the last year, they just fucking dropped off the face of the earth because there's just no reason to even try anymore for some people. But yes, Coco, you and I both are fans of Marvin Gaye, it turns out. Even though I will say this, back in the day, I did have a mixed CD and it was loaded with Barry White. You know, it had all that. My darling, I can't get enough of your love, baby. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I don't know why, I don't know why. Yeah, I had Barry White jamming back in the day. Got my Barry White, little Isaac Hayes, you know, not a lot, but a little. But definitely Barry White, and another one some of you might be a little bit surprised to hear, or not, because at this point I don't know if I could surprise you. Tom Jones. Yeah, I used to listen to quite a bit of Tom Jones. What's new, pussycat? Whoa, whoa, whoa. Or why, Delilah? Do, 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 do. My. And even though it might be considered blasphemy, I'm a huge fan of the Tom Jones doing Kiss, you know? Huge fan. So I just need your extra time and your kiss down. Oh, yeah. Tom Jones, man. See? The only bad thing about Tom Jones, if you go to a Tom Jones concert, you're going to be like ducking and weaving, trying not to get hit by all those freaking grandma underwear, you know? Like, ain't nobody throwing any young underwear up there. That underwear is all coming off of boomers and shit. So you got to watch out for that. But then again, I shouldn't talk shit. I did date a woman once that was like able to get a discount at Perkins before I was. I think I was like 25. She had a kid that was my age. But so now that you've all heard about my degeneracy and my bemoaning the algorithm basically being designed to reward Fox News, CNN, etc. And I'm painting some bone white skin on this lady because she's going to be a Hyperborean. So she's going to get her purple eyes, and I'm going to give her some really outlandish clothing. I think you're right, William. I think you're right. And the problem is, I will never, ever in a million years be the kind of guy that any major corporation wants to be affiliated with. And I'm okay with that because, you know, I don't care. But you're right. If they can get rid of people like me, Double D, just kind of like sometimes I joke around and call us the outlaw D&D streamers, the guys that talk a lot of shit and whatever. That makes more room or indirectly forces people who want to see D&D content to have to watch the more corporate friendly guys. I mean, not that I like to bring the guy up very much because, I think we have a truce at this moment, unless something's went horribly wrong behind my back. But like Condor is never going to hit it big on YouTube because the language and everything he uses is just not friendly towards corporations. So he can get on and he can complain that it's because somebody's making fun of him or doing something. But the reality is, when you drop that many F-bombs, Tide is not going to want to pay to have a commercial put during your video spot. It's just not going to happen. So what you just said about YouTube possibly shaking stuff up to get rid of the chaff, pretty much is what you would call it, separating the wheat from the chaff. Yeah, Condor, myself, a lot of the guys that like get on here and curse and carry on and have opinions and about politics or whatever, we are never going to be the ones that YouTube wants to push. Now, me, I'm okay with it, but some people are not, and it's like, all right, Like I said, I was one of Dungeon Professor's first probably 15 subscribers. And he and I used to communicate a lot on Twitter when it was Twitter, before I got banned, one of the many times I got banned. And you listen to his videos now, and he's talking about how when he actually does a video that's about D&D content, like this is how I like to do this or that, he barely gets any views. And this guy's got thousands and thousands of subscribers, like maybe 100 times more than I do. And he doesn't get views. But when he goes on and he says anything about drama llama bullshit, that's where he gets all of his views. But then people come in and they yell at him and they're like, oh, you're always doing clickbaity titles and blah, blah, blah. And he's all like, like I said, he has a video. I know a lot of guys don't like him and a lot of guys do. But he has a whole video where he says point blank, anytime he tries to do a video about running the Caves of Carnage or the Veiled Society or just D&D stuff, it never does well. But if he does a video talking about like Critical Role doing something or somebody being pissed off about something, those videos through the roof. So I'm going to take off. My wife made some fried zucchini, and it's really good. I'm going to go eat some. But yeah, William, you're 100%. You are the winner of today's chat for your, what's it called? Wisdom and perception. Yeah. Every now and then, I think that's what YouTube does. They do it with the reactors too, like the guys who like to react to music videos. Um, every now and then they'll just gank a bunch of those dudes. And funny thing though, if you look up Richmond north of Richmond, there's a compilation reaction with like 20 people reacting, and your boy is in it somehow. Because I don't remember anybody being like, "Hey," but I remember somebody sending me a thing and being like, "You're in a video by this." And I was like, "No, I didn't know." And I looked it up, and sure as shit, it's me. But good night to all of you. Peace and love. Squirrel Hermit shows up right when I'm leaving. Squirrel Hermit, I love you. Uh, I hope you're having a wonderful time. And tell Zadarak, I hope she's having a great time. But I'm going. Sorry. I will catch you later.